welcome to Wear Many Hats, Season 2. And today we have a wonderful guest with us, James Hebberts. He's come all the way from Wolverhampton today. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you here. And Wolverhampton, you've come down to London.
Yeah.
How was your journey?
Yeah, not too bad. There's some industrial action again, so some of the trains were cancelled, so I had to take a slightly longer one.
Oh, no.
Smoothly. Did you my laptop getting some work done, so can't moan.
That's what I was going to say. Did you sit on the laptop and do some work? That's it. That's all. That's very good that we can do that, isn't it? It's better than driving.
Yeah, definitely. Makes it a little more productive at least.
Yeah, and less stressful, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming so far.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, I've been looking at your background and on LinkedIn, as we do, and it looks like you've had a wonderful career and continuing to do so within facilities management. And this is what this podcast is all about. It's dedicated to the FM world, and hopefully some young and upcoming FM professionals will be coming in and they'll hear your podcast and you'll be able to give them some vital information today.
I hope so. Definitely need more young people coming into the industry, so anything that supports that's always a positive.
Absolutely. I love it. So you work for Arcadis at the moment?
Yes, Principal Facilities Management Consultant.
Lovely.
That's title.
It is. And you said they wear many hats as a company, don't they?
Yeah. As an organisation, we've got architects, engineers, design people, and we do the broad range of sort of project and programme delivery, all capital works. So it's a very broad business. We've got sustainability arms, we've got mobility arms, which focus on sort of trains and
yes, I saw
speed too, etc. But my team, we sit within places, which is focused on buildings, and we're part of the asset optimisation practice. So we're focused purely on sort of facilities management, managing estates, and making organisations' properties sort of work best for them and really fit their organisations. So that's sort of a snapshot of what we do.
And what type of buildings are these? What are you retail, or are you everything?
It's pretty much everything. So we do a lot of government stuff. So we'll work with some of the large government bodies, local authorities, schools, NHS trusts.
Wow.
We work with manufacturers, retail organisations, and we really do touch effectively every sector in every different way that's sort of related to property management. So yeah, really exciting job to be in.
Absolutely. Very, there's plenty for you to do then.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you wear many hats. That's
Definitely. It was one of my sort of attractions into the business in that it's so broad. We touch so many different areas.
Yeah.
We're involved in so many different things, and sort of coming from an operational background, it was, okay, so now I get to do contract management, procurement, the commercial side of life, compliance, audits, just sort of the full scope of services. So as a sort of opportunity for learning, it's been perfect.
And I hate to bring it up, but you're in your 20s, aren't you? And you're in quite a senior position, which is pretty fantastic. So I'm going to go back and rewind it all. Where did you sort of first start? How did it all come about? I mean, I've looked right back to when you was at Interserve. Was that your first role?
Yeah, it was. So strangely, both my parents worked in FM and estates. So even from sort of early teenage years, I was aware of it as a career path.
Right.
My sort of work experience when I was in school was in FM estates and PFI contracts. So I'd done a few weeks working in school PFIs. I'd done a week working with an NHS trust. And that was sort of opening the door to FM and seeing this is an industry, this is a viable career path. We're talking, a decade ago, 8 or so years.
Yeah.
So it was still, didn't have the publicity I'd say it does now, but it was good even at that stage to sort of see it as an option. And obviously you hear the conversations your parents are having, and a lot of it was over my head at that stage, but it sort of shines a bit of a light on it as an industry and as an option moving forward.
So your career was kind of set up for you, really, wasn't it, with having your parents in? That's fantastic, though. So it's a good opportunity for you to move forwards and ask questions as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I can't say I went into it knowing FM was always going to be my career path.
Right.
And when I was at school, I decided to go to university for a foundation year in engineering and physical sciences.
Okay.
And my view was sort of that would then turn into a computer science degree. I was into a bit of programming and sort of software development at that stage. And the thought was that was always a career path. So it wasn't that I was focused on FM from day one, but it was after that first year of university on the summer when I came back home that I sort of got a part-time role, keep me going through the summer, give me something to do. And that was as a caretaker in schools. In FM as on a PFI contract. So that was sort of my first real job, excluding the work experience when I was in school.
Of course.
And that was sort of what started the career.
So you had it sort of well planned. So in terms of it took a good path, a structured path, which sometimes we don't do that when we're at uni, do we? We take whatever job that is going, I guess, but it's not really specific around what you're doing. So you did something that was really kind of specific to what you planned to do.
I'd say yes, but I still intended going back to university to finish my computer science degree. Okay. And sort of after that first job in FM, I changed my mind on that and I didn't go back to uni to finish my degree. I thought, you know what? I've enjoyed this job. I can keep it going moving forwards. There's a full career path here I can pursue.
Right.
And I decided against finishing my computer science degree. Okay. And that was sort of the route I've gone moving forwards.
Okay. So, my son's in the tech world. Okay. He's I've said it before on the show, but he's a cybersecurity analyst through an apprenticeship. But again, he wasn't sure what way he was going. But yeah, I mean,
it's difficult coming out of school at that age without all the context of what careers are open to people and what you need to get into each of one. And a lot of time you've not had the opportunity to touch different parts of different careers to understand what do I actually enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I think if you get a bit of exposure early on, it allows you to sort of focus on where you want to go.
Yeah.
But cybersecurity is an excellent place to be, especially nowadays.
It is. He's in the city in a hedge fund, so he's doing it.
Very nice.
He gets to do some hybrid stuff as well. It's not about my son; it's about you. But yeah, it looks like it was all sort of a move for you in terms of taking the FM route.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was going to say, did you always know this is the path that you'd end up on? But yes,
a mixed bag, yeah.
So was it? Would you say it was your parents that gave you the real push in the career, or was there someone else that kind of mentored you?
No, I'd definitely say it was my parents that sort of opened the door. I wouldn't have been aware of FM in the States as a career path had I have sort of not had them around and involved in it. Yeah. But yeah, it was really that first job as a school caretaker and getting that exposure that sort of made me think, okay, I'm working here with site managers, facilities managers, contract managers, help desk teams. There's a career path here. There's an entire route here. Yeah. And it was sort of, I quite enjoyed the actual getting stuck in and doing things rather than the sort of academic university sat at a desk.
Yeah.
Doing sort of logic puzzles and programming and maths.
It's not for all, is it?
Worn on me after school and A-level, so I figured get stuck in a little bit, go into the workforce and enjoy it.
Yeah, and get paid for it too.
Yeah, indeed.
And so your parents must be very proud.
Yeah, hope so.
I'm sure they are, and especially that you've got into the same industry as them.
Yeah, definitely.
Did they meet in a workplace, or is it just a coincidence they're both in it?
No, growing up, they had very different careers. Mother in retail, father driving instructor, butchers. Then he got into NHS via working for the porters and running their laundries. That then changed to what's called a PFI contract, and he went with Interserve. Yeah. My mother did very similar, the construction of PFIs and into managing them after they was constructed. So yeah, it's a strange family, all in PFI, all in FM.
That way, you're all... But yeah.
Get away from it.
No, I don't think you can. It's following you all. Oh, lovely. So what does a day in James's life look like then? Give us an idea of what you do day to day or in a day.
It's not an easy one to answer. Now that I'm on the consultancy side of life, it's very much depends which clients we're helping at the time, what projects we're delivering. We could be doing site visits to an industrial plant, to a government property, to a retail site and doing a compliance audit, and then a few meetings, writing up a report, or we could be managing a massive procurement and we're evaluating tenders and sort of supporting on that side of life. We could be doing full FM strategy where we're speaking to the client, sort of deciding which FM operating model suits them best moving forwards, to the deliver in-house, to the outsource it, to sort of package it up and do a bit of a hybrid approach.
Yeah.
So it's really dependent on which client we're working with, what time, in terms of what we're doing.
So you really do wear many hats, don't you?
Indeed, definitely.
You do. And what about challenges? What do you face day to day that's can grind you down, or what's have you got anything recently that you can, obviously don't disclose anything confidential, but tell us, what is there anything at the moment or
there's nothing that jumps out right now. The change to consultancy from being operational in FM, that was certainly a big change for me and a bit of a step change, going from sort of being stuck in and just being able to, through pure sort of grit and time, manage problems and sort of drive effective outcomes. And then you step into the consultancy world and it's much more about insights, what sort of knowledge can you pull into things, what's your experiences, and where does it support? So that was probably a big challenge going through that change at the time. I've become a lot more comfortable with it now, and I've started to see where my background and operational experiences fit in and how it helps from a consultancy perspective. So certainly much more comfortable in that now, but that was certainly a big change and a challenge at the time.
And how long have you been doing the role that you're in now?
The role that I'm in right now, a couple of months, but consultancy as a whole, 2 years. So I was promoted relatively recently, but still doing the same types of work and the same sort of projects.
So moving through your career, you obviously you did some work with Interserve, then you went to Mighty, and then Invictus, and then where you are now. How did you kind of go through that path of, because I'm sort of taking you back again.
Yeah, sure.
How did you sort of go through that?
So that first role was sort of meant to fill a summer in between university. It was a caretaking role, part of a team of, I want to say 150 sort of FM people, including cleaners and caretakers across a portfolio of schools. And as we sort of got towards the end of that summer break, I'd spent it doing maintenance, porterage, decorating some of the school whilst it was summer holidays, because sort of it was all empty,
nice.
Dealing with contractors, closing off help desk jobs, all that side of life. So towards the end of that summer break, I was offered, do you want to stay on with us? 0-hour contract, pop back whenever you're at the end of university, give us a hand with things, sort of support in between.
Yeah.
So that was a leisure supervisor job. So the primary responsibility was sort of, on evenings and weekends, we hire out all these schools, 3 of them actually, and we sort of bring in sports clubs, we bring in activities, all that sort of stuff.
They're still there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whilst they're on, I'd be responsible for the building, the health and safety, the cleaning, the setting up, sort of engaging with the people coming in on evenings and weekends, and that was sort of the core job. But because I was on a 0-hour contract and I was in university at Nottingham at the time, it was only an hour and a half-ish drive. So I'd often get pulled in if they had a help desk operator who was off sick and they needed some support, or they had a massive move required at one of the schools and they needed an extra pair of hands. I'd be there helping with that. Yeah. Similarly, if they had a site manager that was off, I'd sometimes just be sat in the site management office coordinating with contractors and the help desk, etc. So I spent about 2 years in that role, and that was probably, I don't think I appreciated it at the time, but it was quite pivotal in sort of mapping out that way forward, being able to have that 0-hour contract but be dropped into all these different roles in all different ways and get that exposure across a full board of sort of PFI contract management and school FM delivery. That was sort of massively beneficial, and I think that sort of set it out.
How old were you then? Because you
must have been 18, 19, 20, and those sort of years. So yeah, it was.
That's a lot for do you think? Or I mean, I don't do it, so you tell me. Do you think is that common?
I wouldn't say it's common. I wouldn't say it was a lot in terms of responsibility. It's not like they stuck me as a site manager on a site and said, get on with it. It was sort of, our site manager's off, can you give us a hand with this? And there was all that guidance. That support was there.
Support.
Yeah, there were still team members on sort of around and supporting. So it wasn't like, we've got an issue, go and manage it, good luck. Yeah. It was very much, we need an extra pair of hands. Can you come in and help? Whatever you can do to help is appreciated.
So that would still be something that someone could do now? Oh, yeah.
We've still got those roles sort of in some of the contracts we work on now. So we do some of the PFI contract monitoring where we monitor on behalf of like local authorities how schools are managed.
Right. And you're still involved in that.
Indeed. And on some of those, we see the same sort of roles where it's a lettings coordinator who's focused on those sort of out-of-hours hiring, but also steps in to support the sort of core day-to-day business when it's needed. So it's certainly still a role that's available. And for me, a lot of credit needs to go to the team that was around, sort of giving me those opportunities, supporting, etc. But it was certainly pivotal back then.
So your parents, and then obviously those people at Interserve, was it that helped you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then it was the stepping into the help desk support roles whilst I was a leisure supervisor that opened the door for me to then take the full-time role as a help desk coordinator. So again, part of the same team, part of the same contract, but full sort of responsibility for managing the compliance, the help desk, the admin side of the contract. So it was 10 or 12 schools, 5 different sites, team of 100 to 150 people in total. And again, that help desk role being on the help desk where you're coordinating all the different arms. So you're engaged with the client, you're engaged with your site teams, you're reporting information to the clients and to the contract management team, you're engaging with contractors, with FM people. Again, it was sort of a single role, but getting exposed to all these different areas.
Yes.
And that was, again, in terms of development, an opportunity to learn from people and pull in as much information as possible. Again, it was an excellent opportunity. So yeah.
And this is why we got you in, because your experience is definitely wearing many hats, especially if then, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting so stuck in that way.
Even in that help desk role, because I'd had the years prior of experience being hands-on and knew the sites quite well, it's still not like I was stuck at a help desk every day. So there'd be opportunities for me to go out and support sites where it was needed and sort of pick up extra responsibilities. So yeah, lots of learning opportunities. And when I was in that role, I started to pull more and more responsibility off some of the others. So being a help desk coordinator at the time, it was quite manual, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, a lot of reporting, quite manual processes to sort of keep track of everything. As I touched on earlier, my background was a little bit in sort of programming and software development. So there's a few administrative tasks that I was able to sort of automate and turn what would have been 1 or 2 hours a day into the click of a button.
Wow.
And that sort of gave me this overhead of free time that I was then able to fill with doing project quote requests from clients, to engaging with contractors, to delivering projects, all these sort of other elements that wouldn't naturally sit in that role.
Yeah,
but again, excellent learning opportunities that then set me up for the next role as an assistant FM, which again, based on the same project, audits, project delivery, life cycle works, sort of supporting the key management team, and very much just learning from everybody and supporting across the board. I think I was in that role for about 6-ish months. And then I was promoted to facilities manager on a slightly separate contract. Funnily enough, it was the same contract that I did my work experience in back when I was in school. Yeah. So I was then based at this site in Telford. 4 schools, a flagship PFI campus, £70 million construction. Very impressive site, excellent team there. And again, brilliant step up. More responsibility, excellent learning opportunity. The contract manager there at the time was one of the sort of facilities managers at the previous project who had sort of pulled me across and suggested it. And again, she was excellent, massive support, massive learning opportunities. So yeah, a lot of credit needs to go to the sort of the people I was around, the opportunities I was given, and that sort of support all the way through. They
must have seen your talent in that area, you know, to give you the promotions and the push forward. Which,
I'd like to think so. I think a key part of it is always trying to help everybody who's in your team. So even if, as a point, you're a help desk operator and technically these other responsibilities aren't yours, and it's not sort of within your job description or scope to fix problems or make things work, going above and beyond to help sort of everybody around you and make the team successful as a whole. I think it's easy to win people over and get that support moving forwards.
Definitely, and broadens your network of people as well, doesn't it? You must know so many people in
Absolutely.
The industry. So, I mean, you touched on a bit of the sort of tech and that sort of stuff, and that's where do you think the industry is heading at the moment, and what excites you? Obviously, things like ESG, AI, remote working. You know, what is it that sort of excites you moving forward?
ESG, I think, is becoming more and more of a focus. I can't pinpoint how much of it's just down to my changing roles and sort of scope, but now looking at procurements and being involved in evaluations and tenders, there's more and more of a focus on ESG, the sustainability, the sort of governance. So we're definitely seeing that come out. Technology, I think, is becoming more and more of a focus. We're seeing Internet of Things, more and more sensors, more data-driven approaches and sort of strategies in how you manage your assets. So that's really interesting to be involved in and see how that develops.
Especially for you with your,
Absolutely.
Still get a foot in that, technically.
A little bit. It's not very often nowadays that I'm involved in sort of the very techie, software-y side of life. But being conscious of it and aware of it and still having that slight bit of interest in, I wonder how that works. It'd be interesting to play around with that. It certainly helps. And again, within Arcadis, we've got an entire digital advisory focused team. So their entire role is mapping out how buildings use technology, use CAFM systems, use all these different approaches to managing their estate. And again, whilst that's not directly within our team, we work in partnership quite a lot. So again, it's exciting to be around those experts in this that as a day job are just involved in it non-stop. So yeah, it's very exciting to see where that's going and sort of how it's developing in the industry.
Definitely. I think that's, it's definitely something that we've discussed on the show quite a few times is the technology and, how advanced it is to the point where you can see how many people are coming in and out of a certain area within the building, say whether it's a kitchen or toilets, and you can send staff to go and deal with that area and focus on that area as opposed to other areas of the business or the building that may not be used, saving time and reusing resources better, isn't it? I think.
Are you seeing more and more of that from a sort of cleaning perspective where you're reallocating resources to busier areas, or?
No, just people coming on the show and telling us for their own buildings but I know cleaning is a huge part of it. So obviously you mentioned ESG. What are Arcadis doing with ESG? What do you know specifically what they're up to?
It's a focus sort of across the business in everything we do. So
it's very important to you guys.
Sustainability is almost the forefront of everything we do from a project perspective, and we're always giving back to communities and environments.
And you're global, aren't you? So
so it's great to see the impact we have. We get these newsletters internally that sort of shout about some of the good work that we do, and be it helping in certain deprived communities or doing really sustainable projects. Or
I love all that. I love it.
It's great to see, and I know there's a lot of it on our website for anybody who is interested. But it's very fundamental to the work we do.
It is wonderful, isn't it, to see companies really taking this on and really running with it. And it's so good to hear it on this podcast, what people are up to, and companies and how they're being so responsible now.
Absolutely. And it fits really well with FM and asset management. Sustainability, sort of we're almost at the forefront of that and driving that reduced carbon usage, energy usage. And along with all of that comes reduced costs, which is in everyone's interest from a sort of occupier perspective. So again, it ties in very nicely to what we do as an FM and asset consultancy. So it's great to be involved in it all.
Absolutely. I think so. Do you think the industry is innovating fast enough, or are we playing catch up? I always mention COVID. I've said this before. I keep mentioning COVID, but that it wasn't that long ago, but it is. If you know what I mean, we've come on a long way.
It feels.
How did that affect you? And are we or did it affect your role?
I think at the time I was on the tail end of my help desk management role.
Right.
So I began working from home for the first time.
Okay. How was that?
It was great. There was a bit of a downtime whilst we geared up. We didn't have laptops. We was working off desktops at the time, so there's a bit of a downtime for that. But working in schools, we were fortunate in that the schools closed anyway, so there was no on-site presence. We had a bit of a down period that sort of allowed us to catch up and get on top of stuff. And then that became a bit of a norm as we went through those couple of years of on off, reduced attendance, etc. of the schools. But we was geared up by that point to operate fully remotely if necessary. But we also counted as key workers for keeping schools operating. So
because we still need a presence, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So has it changed much for you since then? Because I feel like as a society, we've really changed and altered. The way we work now, even sort of homework balance, and there's so much stuff, and even coming back into the office or back into the workplace, it's changed, I think, and do you see that from where you sit?
Yeah, definitely. Personally, I went back to working from the office at the end of that help desk role, but since moving into consultancy, Arcadis are very sort of give you options in terms of where you want to work from. So I'm predominantly working from home or client sites at the moment.
So no more desktops, your laptops now?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got excellent offices, be it London, Manchester, Birmingham, and I'm often working from the Birmingham one, Colmore Row. So
so you've got multiple locations at Arcadis. You have to travel to all the sites, or are you just mainly based where you are?
I'm predominantly based from the Birmingham office. I'll travel down to our London site on Fenchurch Street, probably on average.
From here?
Average once or once every 1 or 2 months, predominantly for sort of team get-togethers.
Nice.
A lot of our FM and asset optimisation team are based around London.
Right.
So we tend to all get together as a team and sort of do a bit of a presentation, what we're working on, keep everybody in the loop and a bit of a get-together. So I'm still down in London quite frequently. And then, as I say, it's between client sites the rest of the time. So it could be visiting a residential estate, a school, a hospital, depending on what projects we're delivering and who we're working with. But yeah, it's definitely become more of a trend, working flexibly and having that flexibility to work from home or offices.
Yes, I definitely feel it. I think companies, not all, but a lot of companies are taking that into consideration, is that having that work-life balance, and I think that's so important for your mind, if anything.
I agree, it's important, but I certainly think it comes with downsides. I think, as an example, when I was operating that help desk, I was based from an office central to all of our sites with a team of 7 or 8 people in the office: facilities managers, commercial manager, technical, hard services manager, and sort of being in the office and exposed to all those conversations and asking just a random question. There's so much learning you get from that.
Yes.
So I think that's something that we've got to be careful not to lose out on.
Yes, and I feel like they're trying to force people back into the office, aren't they? I think the fun's over.
Yeah.
Get back in. And you're absolutely right. And we've mentioned that before on the show, is that it is so important to have human interaction.
Yeah.
We are humans. We need it, and it is discussed. I totally agree.
I suppose the other side of it, though, is if you're commuting 2 hours a day into an office, an hour there and an hour back, that's 2 hours extra of your life back, or 2 hours of extra work/learning, which potentially benefits you equally, if not more, than the sort of personal exposure learning you get.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one to balance.
Yeah,
definitely.
Pluses and minuses in both, isn't it, really? I suppose it's supposed to be having a balance. I guess so.
Yeah.
So looking back, what moment or project are you most proud of? But for a few, I bet.
That's a difficult one. I think certainly in the current role as a consultant, at the end of every project, when you see you've had these couple of months or 6 months or 12 months of really hard work pushing for the same sort of final outcome, when you get to see that payoff and you see the outcome and you see the client's estate transform, or you've delivered this massive project or fixed this major issue, that's always quite prideful and great to see.
I bet.
It's like you don't always benefit from that if you're on a project where you're almost handing it back to the client to deliver after doing the strategy side of it. But
you do all of that too.
So in those cases, we sometimes get to miss out on that enjoyable part of, oh, wow, now it's all the work's done. This is how excellent it's looking. But it's still great to work with clients and sort of get to
their feedback too.
Walk through that process with them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I like this one. What's something you wish you knew when you were just starting out? Bear in mind you had a little bit of a bit of support there with your parents, but what do you think? What would you give advice-wise?
Advice-wise, it'd probably always be as proactive as you can and chase opportunities to learn, be it volunteering for tasks that sit outside of your sort of day-to-day responsibilities, be it going above and beyond to work an extra couple of hours to do something strange that you wouldn't normally have done as a bit of a learning opportunity for yourself. And obviously that benefits the team around you. It sort of builds those relationships. So that'd probably be from an advice perspective. The one thing I wish I knew is probably how diverse it is.
Right.
So
be prepared.
The sort that, but also the verticals within the industry and sort of areas you can focus on. So do you want to be cleaning focused, soft services more generally focused, technical, digital and systems focused, contract and commercial? Do you want to be operational FM? There's all these sort of long list of verticals, and it goes on. You've got the procurements, you've got the sort of compliance experts, you've got the life cycle and the project delivery. That would probably be my first bit of advice. You've got all these verticals. Try and touch on some of them. So at least you understand them.
And see
where you fit and where you want to pursue.
And what you enjoy.
Absolutely.
You've got to love your job, right?
Exactly. And I think that's a benefit of going into a sort of generalist FM role first, in that you get exposed to elements of all of them, and you can then sort of decide which area you preferred, which area you enjoyed most, which area you performed best at, and you get to pursue that as a bit of a more focused career. But equally, I think there's massive benefit in staying almost diversified and more of a generalist as well. So just go into that eyes wide open almost, and know either be intentional, be it maybe you want to touch on an area and focus on that for a short term, but you still want to have a path into returning to being more generalist, or maybe you want to try something else out.
That's very important and good advice, I think, to give to our listeners, that, there's lots to it. So really investigate and give it all a go and see what you love the most.
Absolutely. If you look at most careers, and they're quite siloed in the terms of the skills you need and the sort of day-to-day tasks you'll be doing. You look at FM and you can pick a role across the board and be doing whatever you want with your day. Is it diving into data? Is it managing computer systems? Is it dealing with people and clients? Is it head down in engineering, repairing systems and plumbing and boilers?
So much.
There's the sales element, of course. There's that full range of whatever you want to do. You can almost do it in FM, whatever skill set you want to utilise and sort of build on.
And it'll always be there.
Absolutely.
It will never go.
Yeah.
It's an industry that's buoyant at all times.
Indeed. Unless there's changes off the back of AI, potentially.
We're going back to that.
That'd be interesting to see how that plays out and what impact it has on sort of roles.
Is that a friend or foe to you, AI?
Bit of both, I'd say.
I know.
It's early days, and I think you've got to be careful not to overuse it. So if you was to expect it to give you perfect outputs or do an excellent piece of research for you, you're probably going to get caught out quite often in it being wrong. Yeah. But if you want it to give you a bit of direction and at the drop of a hat, point to some resources you can use, then it's excellent. So if I'm researching a topic, often I'll drop into an AI, give me some direction on recent articles around X or some industry guidance on Y, and then you can sort of digest that yourself and sort of make that intelligent review of it, having not had to scroll Google for 15 minutes to find certain resources. So I think in that element it's excellent. And I think there's still obviously a long way to go with it.
Same. I do love AI.
Yeah.
I do love a bit of ChatGPT. I'm sorry, I've said it before on here. Yeah. I really like it and trying to encourage other people to use it. I think it saves a lot of time.
Absolutely.
We're all really busy. We've got busy lives, haven't we? And that leads me on to my next question, actually. Let's step away from work a little bit. So what do you like to do to switch off outside of your day job? What do you do?
So most of my time at the moment's focused on the house refurb that I'm doing. So I've purchased a house. So I sort of...
So you're still doing work, technically.
Yes, sort of, but a bit more
enjoyable.
Yeah, an enjoyable side of it. So tearing that to pieces at the moment and starting to rebuild it in a full refurbishment. So knocking down walls, rebuilding them, just starting the electrics at the moment.
Wow.
That's...
Are you pulling in contractors that you know, or is it...
No. Unfortunately. Unfortunately not.
Oh my goodness, this is so interesting. So is that close to where you are at home? Or?
Yeah, still local to Wolverhampton. It's taken me a whole lot longer than I'd expected. Probably the typical thing of underestimating the time it'll take and thinking I can give more time to it than I actually can. So I do need to start pulling in people to support on it soon. But that's taken...
So you've been trying to do it on your own, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Cost saving as much as sort of doing it out of enjoyment.
But you have to weigh up the pros and cons, don't you?
It's how much time it takes versus how much you're saving and when you actually want to be able to move in properly.
Oh, so you're going to move in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's your plan?
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. And are your parents involved in that?
Not massively. They pop around a couple of times and give me a hand, but no, not massively. No.
Maybe them. You need to call on them.
Yeah, I might have to.
Yeah, and maybe you can have a cost saving there as well. Love that. Okay, so we're finishing up soon. So what's your last, the bit of the best advice that you've ever had? What would you say it has been, and who from?
I can't say there's a single bit of advice coming to mind. I think the most beneficial is just getting to be around people and see people who are excellent at what they do and take from them the bits that really work and the bits that are most successful. So seeing somebody who's leading a team and is really engaged and people go above and beyond for them and seeing why that is, how they're sort of giving ownership to the people beneath them, how they're taking responsibility when things go wrong. I think it was being able to observe people who are excellent at what they do and try and grab every bit of learning from that as possible rather than in direct words of sort of this is what you should do. I think it's seeing what works and applying that yourself. That's probably what's been most impactful for me. Yeah,
so guidance and seeing where people have, or you even yourself, I feel like it's so important we need to make mistakes to learn from them, and it's something that we need to do as well, isn't it? So that we can, and then watching others as well, and I won't do that then.
Absolutely. We all work with loads of people. We'll see people who we know do excellent at certain things and other people who do excellent at certain things. And we'll see areas where we're like, oh, that didn't look right. I don't want to be like that. I don't like the way he spoke to that person or the way he's trying to lead in this way. And sort of being very conscious of observing people's actions and the way they are and taking from them all the positives and being careful not to do a lot of things that are negative that you see. So if you've got a manager that you don't get on with, that doesn't work for you, you don't have a positive relationship, knowing what it is that's caused that and ways to repair it so that you can apply that moving forward as you step up in your career and become a manager and can sort of replicate the great people and avoid the ones that have shown you things you don't want to be doing.
Absolutely. And that's it for today. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed interviewing you, and I hope that our listeners get some good, insightful, knowledgeable information from this, and hopefully can take some snippets from what you've done to be so successful and to where you are today.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate the invite. It's been enjoyable. It's
been great, and I look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn and seeing you work through your career as we move forward as well. And it was great to meet you, James.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much, and have a safe journey home.
Will do. Thank you for the invite.
Lovely. And that's all for today's session with James Hebberts from Arcadis. And so if you like this, please like, share, follow to all your friends and family, and anyone else who would get this, take this information and make good of it. And I'll see you next time on the next podcast.